Hey everybody, Andrew Maxwell from the Southern Outdoorsman here, and we are doing a much anticipated review on the Out on a Limb SHIKAR sticks. As you can see, these are all filthy and gross because I hunted with them for like pretty much the entire deer season last year. All the hunts you saw me doing, like the one where I killed my buck and the one where I killed that doe, I was using these sticks. So we've got quite a few miles on them already, so hopefully we'll be able to speak pretty intelligently on how they actually perform in the field when you're hunting. So let's get right into it. So pretty much the first thing about these is how small they are. Like if you're buying these, you're probably buying them because they're this big. I mean, this right here is 2 sticks. So that's super impressive. I mean, that's why we were interested in them. And these are actually original prototypes. So these kind of predate like what he's putting out right now, but they're still extremely similar to the sticks that Matt's producing right now at Out on a Limb. This is primarily how I pack mine in. We'll show you a view on the backpack, but I'll put 2 sticks together like this, and as you can see, they're very, very small, both length and width-wise. Wrap them up, I put 2 on each side of my back, and I'm good to go. Very out of the way. We've gotten some questions about how to stack them together like a traditional stick, and to be honest, we don't do that. So we're not going to try to cover that because this is kind of the way they were meant to be put together, I guess. I know people do other things, but for me personally, this is what I use, so I'm not going to, try and explain something that I don't use. So basically, when I'm walking in, all I have to do is sling the pack off one side, unbuckle the 2 buckles. Obviously, that'd be more quiet if it was a hunting situation. Take those off, and I'll also take off my platform, and I'll hook it to the back of the saddle. I'll walk up to the tree, put stick number 1 on, and sticks on the tree, and then I'll just climb up with this one in my hand. So I'll go up the tree just like that, climbing up with the stick. I get on top of that one, put this one on, get the other 2, and keep going. So everything's one trip, super easy, super fast, super streamlined. When you get to the tree, your stick is going to look like this. Like how I just showed you. You take it off your backpack or whatever, and everything's vertical, standoff. So what I like to do is keep the step actually vertical, just because it's less moving parts. So I just grab the step around the stick like so, and then I just turn the stand off. I'll do that for the top and the bottom, and then I'll kind of position it on the tree wherever I want it to be. It's like right there. Then I'll turn this, and this makes it quieter because this metal can be very tingy and it can be loud if you're not careful. And I found that when it's pressed against a tree like this, it just makes everything quieter. You have more control. So, you get the step right here, twist it in, and you just let it settle into place. You got to be very careful so that it doesn't, go down there and make a bunch of sound. But you get those things tightened up, and then you're pretty much good to go. So then you just come around the tree with your strap, like so. Same way you do any other stick on the market. And these teeth bite really, really, really hard on pines, which is something I like. Then I use these little 1-step aiders. You just get more height out of them. They set the stick really well. Some of those Lone Wolf custom gear cable aiders would probably work extremely well with this, because there actually is a hole down here at the bottom of the stick that you could run a bolt through, and you could put that cable aider on there. But so then you got your aider right here if you're using an aider, and then it's just like anything else. You just put your foot in it, step down, it'll seat your stick, and then you can start climbing. Super easy. I actually carry 4 of these. I just hang them around my neck. They don't weigh anything. They're useful. You can use them as deer drags. So, and I don't know where you can buy these. My buddy Clay actually made these for me. So, but it's super, super, super simple. I'm sure he found it online how to make it, but that's kind of how I use the stick on the tree. So what I was kind of talking about before, just to show you guys, this is just a straight piece of aluminum that's been milled out. All this is aluminum, everything, cut out of one piece. It's not poured or anything like that, or like molten aluminum poured into a mold. So that does make it more loud, which obviously there's remedies for. You can do all kinds of stuff to make the stick more quiet. But just for the sake of review, so you guys know what a bare stick sounds like this, if you're not careful with it, you just turn the stand off, and then you can hear that kind of ting. So that's something to be mindful of. If I were you and I was looking at these sticks, I would definitely just plan ahead and buy something that'll make them more quiet. I hunted last year without them. having any kind of dampening system on them, and it was fine. You know, you just have to take your time. But for those times where you're not paying attention and something slips by you, you know, it'll kind of save your butt in a situation like that. Okay, so one thing that is really awesome about these sticks is the teeth on them and the standoffs, and they just bite, I mean, ridiculously well. So this, like I said, always use an aider. So I just put that right there, and it really helps seat the stick down straight, so you don't have any weird kickouts or anything. On top of the fact that it's going to help you get a little bit higher, but just on this little tree right here, it's like some kind of little hickory tree, it looks like. So you can step on this and see how it didn't set down very much. All my weight's on that, barely set down at all. So I'll take this off and just show you, you know, how well these things really bite. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. Now I had to hit that thing pretty hard for it to come off. So yeah, they bite in really, really good, especially on these smaller trees. On pines they bite well. The only kind of tree I've had trouble with would be like a shagbark hickory, like a beech tree. It's got real smooth bark, because these little tiny teeth, you know, they're small, which works on most trees, but on like a really smooth hard bark tree, they seem like they have to set down a little bit more. So again, just something to be mindful of. If you got like tons of beech trees in your area you think you're gonna be climbing on, I would just be mindful of that. Just know that you might get 2 or 3 inches of settling out of that stick when you put it on the tree. So that's just something to, you know, expect. But other than that, I haven't had a single issue out of these things, out of the many hunts that I hunted them with. I haven't had a single issue where it kicked out or anything like that, because this standoff, the way that it's kind of flared out, it just does a really good job of grabbing the tree and really biting into it. So yeah, the standoffs are definitely a huge plus for these sticks.
All right, so a question we've got when we were asking people what kind of facts and things they want to know about when it came to these sticks from personal use is whether or not they flex at all. So you kind of see what it looks like when 260 pounds stands on the top step, kind of bouncing up and down. You know, if the standoffs move a little bit, if the actual stick itself flexes that much. So that's one thing to kind of realize with some of the bigger guys. You might have a little bit of flex with it. The thing is, when you're up on it, I don't really feel it. I think you see it more in the video than I actually feel it on the tree, because it's super stiff on the tree. And also, I don't feel much of the actual step canting back and forth much at all after tightening them down. And one tip I saw some guys doing, which I didn't hunt with these sticks a whole bunch last year, Andrew used them pretty much all last season, is you can tighten up the knob as tight as you can get it, and then you get the standoff just off a little bit. So when you tighten that standoff down to get it, you know, horizontal with the tree, it really tightens up. And that's what I did on that top step, and it feels super solid. But again, y'all kind of saw some of the flex on there, so hopefully that answers some of y'all's questions, especially looking at 260 pounds on top of the stick. So I'd like to show the difference when you just hand tighten the knob versus hand tighten the knob, and also using the leverage of the standoff to tighten it down even more. So if you look down here on the bottom, this has just been hand tightened, okay? So that's it, hand tightened. You can kind of see a little bit of wiggle in there, okay? Now we go to the top stick, or top step. This was hand tightened and also used leverage from the standoff to be able to tighten it even more, and it doesn't move at all, okay? And I really feel that when you're standing up on it. And I saw that, I forgot who posted about that, but I thought that was a really nice little tip to really get those super snug, super tight, so there really isn't any play in them. So one thing to say about these standoffs, they are really sharp. And when I was kind of messing around just getting everything tight using the leverage of the actual the standoff, it got me. So just something to think about. You gotta be careful when you're doing this, especially in any kind of wet conditions. But it gets it really snug when you do it that kind of way to be able to tighten up those steps.
So one thing I forgot to mention earlier, when I was talking about the aiders and I said I can get as high as I want, I think that like max I'm getting like 23 to 25 feet to a platform, which for my purposes is all that I need. Somebody might want to get higher. If you want to get higher, then maybe you should get a bigger length step than this. But what I'm going to cover lastly is wear and tear. I put probably at least like 20 hunts on these last year, and that's have them on the backpack, you know, me or another person climbing up on them, dragging them through the briars, just really abusing the living crap out of them, hunting in rain a lot. So I mean, these things have been put through the absolute ringer. I tried my best to destroy them. Here's pretty much the extent of the wear and tear on these sticks. You know, right here on the edge, you just have like a little bit of wear. It's gotten mud, it's gotten plants in it, it's gotten, you know, all kinds of stuff all up in this, and I haven't had an issue yet with, like, you know, any of these screws getting jammed up or anything like that. So, I mean, the wear and tear has been, you know, minimal, you know, with how much I've abused them. So I'm impressed with how much they're holding up, and I think that's just because of how simple they are. It's not like, you know, yes, there are moving parts, but it's not like a super complicated piece of machinery right here. It's just, I mean, it's just literally a screw that goes through there. There's a spring, and I mean, that's all there is to it. So there's not a whole lot to mess up. I mean, if you do get some dirt and everything in there, you can get it out fairly easily just with some water or whatever. But I mean, yeah, like you can see where it's turned a bunch of times, and I mean, it hadn't even worn off the finish or anything yet. So once again, I'm very impressed. And the teeth on the standoffs are still sharp. I mean, still sharp enough to cut poor Jacob over here.
As we found out.
As we found out. And again, you know, there's no telling how many trees, you know, we've put this on. So very, very, very impressed with them. They've done absolutely fantastic up to this point. If you guys want to see a comparison video, make sure you subscribe, because that will be coming. Tell us what questions you have maybe about these. We'll cover it in the next video. We haven't posted a video since my doe that I shot in like January, so we're gonna get back to it as fall rolls in. We're replacing some camera gear, you know, getting settled back, so we're gonna have more videos coming out. But yeah, I think we're gonna do a comparison on these new Novix sticks with the out on a limb sticks. Two of the newer options out there right now. So make sure you subscribe for that. Like this video, drop a comment of what you want to see, and make sure you're following the podcast, because if you're into gear and everything, you're probably into, you know, deer hunting and public land hunting. So follow along on our podcast. We interview people who are much better at deer hunting than we are, killers from all around the South and sometimes the Midwest. So make sure you go check that out. This summer we've done a slew of podcasts about everything you could think of, from mock scrapes with the Mock Scrape Master and all kinds of stuff. So y'all just go check it out. I can't explain it here at the end, but hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.